everyone. Welcome back to ChillChat English, the place where we make learning English relaxing and chill. Let's keep going with our last topic. And then the framework pivots from how you spend your time to who you spend it with. Family dynamics.
Right, bringing in the people you care about.
The guide offers phrases like, I have one sister, or I live with my parents. Amy mentions a brother named Ben in Melbourne. Chris talks about a big family with two sisters. But here's where the text introduces a strategy that I really want to talk about because I think it is brilliant.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
The source material brings up pets. Chris proudly mentions his very noisy dog named Buster, and Amy counters with her cat named Mochi, who she notes is very quiet. I have to ask you, is bringing up a pet actually a high-level strategy for an introduction? Or is it just cute filler?
Oh, it is absolutely a high-level strategy. And what's fascinating here is that the source explicitly validates this. It declares with real enthusiasm, pets are family too.
I love that.
From a social standpoint, mentioning a pet is a stroke of genius in an introduction.
It feels like mentioning a pet acts as a sort of safe zone. It grounds the conversation before you get into heavier topics.
That is a perfect way to describe it. Human family dynamics can be, well, incredibly complicated.
Very true.
If you bring up siblings or parents or kids, you can sometimes accidentally step on emotional landmines depending on the other person's life. It carries a lot of social weight. But a pet is almost a universally safe emotional touch point.
And it completely humanizes you. When Chris introduces himself as a professional graphic designer, but then immediately confesses that he lives with a very noisy dog, the professional armor just drops.
Exactly.
You aren't just a resume anymore. You are a regular person who probably gets woken up at 3 a.m. by a barking dog. It is an instant invitation for empathy.
Furthermore, it feeds the listener the easiest possible follow-up question.
Right, because the goal isn't just to talk at someone.
Exactly. It is to spark a dialogue. When you mention a noisy dog, the listener doesn't have to work hard to keep the conversation going. They can simply smile and say, oh, what kind of dog? Or, I grew up with a dog who never stopped barking. You have successfully transitioned from a monologue into a warm, comfortable dialogue.
And again, the use of those simple contrasting adjectives, the noisy dog versus the quiet cat, it adds so much flavor using very simple English.
It paints a picture.
Okay, so at this point in the framework, we have built a really solid foundation. We have the basics, who and where you are. We have work and family, how you spend your time, and who you care about.
Right.
If you stop here, you have a perfectly polite, functional introduction. But you might also blend into the background.
Exactly. A perfectly polite introduction is often a very forgettable one. To stick in someone's memory, you have to transition from just facts to memorable personality.
Which brings us to the third and, frankly, the most surprising part of this entire guide, the section on interests. Now, the first half of this section is exactly what you would expect. The source gives us phrases like, I really like and I love. Chris says, I really like cooking Italian food. My favorite food is pizza.
Very relatable.
And Amy says, I love hiking. I go to the mountains every weekend. It makes me feel free. That is standard, solid advice. But then the source material throws a complete curveball. It explicitly advises that you must also share what you do not like.
Yes. It introduces the framework for sharing a dislike using the simple phrase, I don't like.
And the examples are incredibly specific. Amy says, I don't like rainy days. They make me feel sleepy. Chris says, I don't like waiting for the bus. I am a very impatient person.
I love that one.
Now, I really need to push back on this a little bit. Every piece of conventional wisdom about networking or interviewing says you should put your best foot forward, right?
Yeah, that is the traditional advice, yeah.
You were supposed to be like a walking advertisement for yourself. Isn't an introduction supposed to be 100% positive? Doesn't injecting a dislike risk making you sound negative or maybe difficult to work with?
It is a very natural concern to have, but it raises an important question about how human trust is actually built.
Yeah.
If we look closely at the text, it provides the reason for this rule. It states that sharing what you do not like shows your real personality.
But how does complaining about the weather show your real personality in a good way?
Well, if we connect this to psychology, there is a concept known as the Pratfall effect.
The pratfall effect.
Yes. Essentially, it shows that if you are highly competent and seemingly perfect, people might respect you, but they might also find you intimidating or just hard to relate to.
Oh, I see.
However, if that same perfect person makes a small, harmless mistake like spilling a cup of coffee, their likability actually skyrockets. Perfection is abrasive. Mild vulnerability is magnetic.
Oh, wow. So if you just march into a room and say, I am a successful designer, I love creativity, I love my family, and I love hiking, you sound like an artificial intelligence.
Exactly. You sound like a polite robot. You lack friction, and real human life has friction. When you introduce a mild, relatable dislike, you signal to the listener that you are self-aware, honest, and authentic.
The key words there have to be mild and relatable because there's a huge difference between a normal human frustration and being toxic.
Absolutely.
If Chris had said, I am a graphic designer and I hate my clients, they are all terrible, that is a massive red flag. That is toxic negativity.
Oh, completely.
But saying, I hate waiting for the bus because I am impatient, that is brilliant.
It is brilliant because it is a universally understood frustration. No one enjoys waiting for the bus. By admitting that it makes him impatient, Chris is showing a tiny, harmless flaw. He is inviting the listener to laugh with him at a shared human annoyance. It breaks the formal tension of the room entirely.
It really is an advanced communication strategy, completely disguised as simple English vocabulary. It makes you a three-dimensional person. So we have deconstructed all the pieces.
We really are.
We started with the geographical grounding of the basics. We moved to the value-driven declarations of work, study, and family. We established our passions with our likes. And we deployed the secret weapon of the pratfall effect using a mild dislike.
And the true magic happens when you see how seamlessly these distinct pieces snap together to form a cohesive narrative.
Let's do exactly that. The source material provides a final synthesis, a fully assembled introduction using Chris's details. I am going to read it precisely as it is written in the text, and I want you to listen to the rhythm of it.
Go for it.
Here is the full introduction. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm from Manchester, but I live in London. I'm 31, and I work as a graphic designer. I have a dog named Buster. I love cooking pizza, but I don't like waiting for the bus.
It is a masterpiece of efficiency. It takes perhaps 20 or 30 seconds to deliver.
It flows perfectly, and it hits every single psychological trigger we just discussed without sounding calculated at all.
Let's reiterate why mastering this matters so deeply for you, our listener. The anxiety of tell me about yourself comes from the infinite void of possibilities.
So many choices.
Yes. This framework takes the infinite and makes it manageable. The next time you are faced with that question, you do not need to invent a captivating autobiography on the spot. You just walk down the steps.
Step by step.
Ground yourself with the basics. Show your motivation with your work or study. Humanize yourself with family or a pet. And anchor your authenticity with a like and a mild dislike.
You completely bypass the brain freeze because the architecture is already built. You just swap out Chris and Amy's facts for your own. You go from feeling completely paralyzed to knowing exactly how to guide the listener's perception of you.
It transforms what is traditionally a moment of sheer panic into a moment of genuine, confident connection.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. I want you to really think about that dislikes rule we just spent time dissecting.
It is a powerful one.
Imagine you are walking into a room tomorrow to introduce yourself to someone you deeply admire. Maybe a mentor or a leader you really want to connect with. What is one quirky, highly relatable dislike you could share about yourself? What is your version of waiting for the bus? Find that one harmless friction point that instantly shows off your real personality without crossing the line into complaining. Take a few minutes today to figure out what that is. Once you find it and plug it into this framework, your introduction will never be forgettable again.
That is an excellent exercise. Cultivating that one tiny moment of vulnerability will completely change the dynamic of your next first impression.
It really will. Well, that's all for today's episode of Chill Chat English. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We hope you feel more chill about your English now.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, ChillChat English, so you don't miss our next episodes. See ya!